When people compare grains, the conversation often focuses on whether rice, wheat, or corn is better. Yet, from a nutritional and metabolic perspective, the way a grain is milled frequently matters more than which grain it is. Milling is not just a mechanical step to make flour finer or rice whiter. It is a decisive transformation that determines how much fiber remains, how quickly starch is digested, and how many micronutrients actually reach the body. Understanding this shift allows whole and refined grains to be used intentionally, with whole grains offering long-term health advantages and refined grains still having a place when energy, digestibility, or texture is a priority. In whole grains, the bran and germ are preserved. The bran contains most of the fiber, along with B vitamins, antioxidants, and minerals such as magnesium, iron, and zinc. The germ is rich in vitamin E, healthy fats, phytochemicals, and additional B vitamins that support energy metabolism and nervous system function. When grains are refined, these two layers are largely removed, leaving the starchy endosperm. This process dramatically reduces fiber content and strips away many micronutrients that regulate blood sugar, support gut health, and reduce inflammation. The health consequences are subtle in the short term but meaningful over time. Refined grains digest quickly, leading to sharper glucose and insulin spikes, while diets consistently low in grain-derived fiber are associated with reduced microbial diversity in the gut and lower intake of minerals that protect cardiovascular and metabolic health. At the same time, refining is not purely negative. Removing the bran and germ improves shelf stability, creates lighter textures, and makes grains easier to digest for children, older adults, and those with sensitive digestion. From a positive analytical standpoint, refined grains become most problematic not because they exist, but because they are often consumed in isolation and in excess, without compensating foods or processing strategies that restore balance. Different milling techniques demonstrate that refining is not a binary choice. Stone milling, for example, grinds the entire grain more gently, often retaining more of the germ oils and micronutrients than modern roller milling. When people compare grains, the conversation often focuses on whether rice, wheat, or corn is better, yet from a nutritional and metabolic perspective, the way a grain is milled often matters more than which grain it is. Milling is not just a mechanical step to make flour finer or rice whiter. It is a decisive transformation that determines how much fiber remains, how quickly starch is digested, and how many micronutrients actually reach the body. Once you understand what milling removes and what it preserves, whole and refined grains stop looking like opposing camps and start looking like tools that can be used thoughtfully for different health goals. In whole grains, the bran and germ remain intact. The bran is the grain's outer protective layer and is especially rich in dietary fiber, polyphenol, and minerals such as magnesium, zinc, iron, and selenium. These components slow digestion, support healthy gut bacteria, and help regulate cholesterol and blood sugar. The germ, which is the embryo of the seed, contains vitamin E, B vitamins, healthy fats, and phytochemicals that support energy metabolism, brain function, and cellular protection. Together, bran and germ provide much of the grain's nutritional complexity, turning starch into a slow, steady source of energy rather than a rapid glucose surge. Refining removes most or all of the bran and germ, leaving the starchy endosperm. This dramatically reduces fiber and strips away a large portion of B vitamins, vitamin E, and minerals. The immediate effect is a softer texture, longer shelf life, and faster cooking time. The physiological effect is quicker digestion and absorption of glucose, which can be helpful in specific contexts such as intense physical activity, illness recovery, or populations that struggle with appetite or digestion. From a long-term health perspective, however, diets dominated by refined grains tend to be lower in magnesium, zinc, and fiber, nutrients closely linked to insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular health, and gut microbiome diversity. The issue is less about refined grains being inherently harmful and more about what is lost when they replace whole grains as everyday staples. Not all milling techniques affect nutrients equally, And this is where nuance becomes empowering. Traditional stone milling grinds the entire grain more gently, often retaining more of the germ oils and micronutrients compared to modern roller milling, which separates bran and germ very efficiently. Stone ground flours tend to have a slightly coarser texture and richer flavor, and while they may have a shorter shelf life due to natural oils, they preserve more of the grain's original nutritional profile. Roller milling, on the other hand, produces highly uniform refined flour but also allows for selective recombination. Some producers reintroduce portions of bran or germ after milling, creating flours that balance performance and nutrition. Fortification further complicates the picture in a positive way. Many refined flours are enriched with iron and B vitamins such as folic acid, thiamine, and niacin. While enrichment does not fully replace the lost fiber or phytochemicals, it has played a major public health role in reducing deficiency diseases. This means that refined grains are not nutritionally empty, but they are narrower in scope. Whole grains deliver a broader spectrum of nutrients, while enriched refined grains deliver targeted ones. Recovery strategies make milling choices far less rigid. One of the most practical approaches is bran addition, where small amounts of wheat bran or oat bran are added back into refined flour recipes. This significantly increases fiber and mineral content without drastically altering texture. Sprouted grain flours offer another powerful strategy. Sprouting activates enzymes within the grain that partially break down starch and protein while reducing phytic acid, a compound that binds minerals. As a result, sprouted whole grain flours are often easier to digest and provide minerals in a more bioavailable form, even though they remain nutritionally dense. Fermentation acts as a nutritional bridge between refined and whole grains. Long fermented doughs, such as sourdough breads, reduce phytic acid and improve mineral absorption regardless of whether the flour is fully whole grain or partially refined. This means a fermented bread made with a mix of whole and refined flour can sometimes deliver minerals more effectively than a quickly leavened bread made with 100% whole grain flour. From a positive analytical perspective, processing choices can sometimes matter as much as ingredient purity. Keeping whole grain textures palatable is often the deciding factor for long-term adherence, and simple recipe swaps make a major difference. Replacing 25 to 50% of refined flour with whole grain or sprouted flour usually preserves softness, while adding fiber and micronutrients. Using whole grain pastry flour or white whole wheat flour provides the nutritional benefits of the bran and germ with a milder flavor and lighter texture. Adding moisture-rich ingredients such as yogurt, olive oil, mashed fruit, or cooked grains helps counteract the drying effect of bran, resulting in softer breads and baked goods. For rice and other intact grains, mixing white and brown varieties or choosing parboiled rice can improve nutrient density while maintaining familiar taste and mouthfeel. Ultimately, milling matters because it shapes how grains interact with the body over time. Whole grains support metabolic health, digestive resilience, and nutrient sufficiency, while refined grains offer digestibility, versatility, and culinary comfort. The most positive and realistic approach is not strict avoidance or blind preference, but strategic use. By understanding what milling removes, choosing gentler milling methods when possible, and applying recovery strategies like sprouting, fermentation, and partial substitution, grains of any type can become nutritionally supportive rather than metabolically taxing. In this light, the question shifts from whole or refined to how can this grain be prepared to best support health and enjoyment at the same time?